So this question, we want to go ahead and find the equation of the line that we have here. So looking at this, I want to first identify the y-intercept. So where does it cross the y-axis? It looks like that's at -5. So the y-intercept is -5, or if you like 0, -5. We know our formula is y equals mx plus b. B is the y-intercept, m is the slope. So in this case, my b is -5. Now, what is the slope? We're going to go back and look at our picture here in a minute. Slope is change in y over change in x. So I want to find 2 points and identify those various changes. So let's take a look. I've got this point here, this point, this point. You want to find what I call a hash mark where it crosses, where the grid lines intersect. So if I go from this point to this point, what's the rise? Is it going up or is it going down first off? It's increasing, it's rising. So I know my slope is positive. So change in y, it goes up 2 and it goes over 1, 2, 3. Let's see if that continues. Up 2, 1, 2, over 3, 1, 2, 3. Up 2, 1, 2, over 3, 1, 2, 3. So my change in y, rise 2, change in x, run 3. So again, slope is rise over run, which will be +2 over +3, going up 2, going up over 3. I always like the change in y to be either positive or negative. I like to keep the run always to be positive. So knowing that, fine, I have m is 2/3, and I have b is -5. So knowing that, we can plug that into y equals mx plus b, and we have this equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals 2/3 x plus -5, or -5. Would be the equation of that line. Let's look at the next one. We have this line, and again, first off, we're going to ask for the y-intercept. So where does it cross the y-axis? Crosses it at 0, 6. So we'll say that y-intercept, x is 0, y is 6. So if that's the case, b is equal to 6. And we know again that y equals mx plus b. M is rise over run, change in y over change in x. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's look at the graph and see what that is. We're going to again find 2 points that cross at hash marks, if you will. So it looks like maybe this one. And maybe another one would be here. So let's see, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't quite handle that. But change in y then is -3. Change in x is +4. Notice I want to always keep the change in x positive. Move from left to right. Change in y, -3. Change in x, 4. So slope is -3 over +4, which is -3/4. Again, our formula for slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, y equals -3/4 x. That's our m plus b plus 6. That is the equation for that line. All right, let's take a look at our next question. We have this. All right, now, what's our y-intercept? So where does it cross the y-axis? Right here at -2. You see that? So the y-intercept is 0, -2. So b is -2. Fine. And then what is our slope? Our slope is change in y over change in x, or rise over run. What are we going to get there? Well, looking at our picture, I have this point to, I don't know, maybe this point. From here to here, there is no rise, but the run is 3. So the change in y is 0. The change in x is 3 if I'm going to this point here. So up 0 over 3, possibly up 0 over 1, or up 0 over 2. It doesn't really matter what your change in x is. They all work out the same way. Change in y is 0 over, again, I'll use this point, change in x is 3. So slope is 0 over 3, which is 0. So now we're going to go ahead and recognize that it's in the form y equals mx plus b, y equals 0x plus -2, y equals 0 minus -2, y equals -2. But I want you to notice something as well here. If you go back and look at our graph, what are my points? This point, x is 0, y is -2, is one of my points. We see that, as I mentioned before, right? My y-intercept, 0, -2. What are some other points that are on that graph? What else do we have? This point is 1, x is 1, y is -2. And let's do one more. Over here, this point is 5, and y is -2. So looking at this, you can see, y is always -2, and that's our equation. Now, is this slope-intercept form or is 0x plus -2 a better slope-intercept form? I don't have a real good answer for that. But the equation for the line certainly is y equals -2. Okay, let's take a look at one more question in this group. So what do I have here? Well, what I've done with the first few problems is to talk about the y-intercept. Where does it cross the y-axis? And there is none. So for this graph, there is no y-intercept. Well, if that's the case, you don't have a chance. You're not going to be able to put it in slope-intercept form. What about the equation? Well, let's look at some points. This point here, the x-intercept, x is 5, y is 0. So we have that point. We have the point 5, 0. What else do we have? This point here, x would be 5 and y would be 3. And let's do one more. This point here, x would be 5 and y would be -2. Well, the goal was to put this in slope-intercept form. That's impossible. So it's impossible to put this in slope-intercept form. But what I can recognize is I can get the equation. Notice x is 5, x is 5, x is 5. That is the equation that we would have for that.